Welcome to Cordkillers, Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, on whatever dang device we please. I'm Brian Brushwood. Hey, Amos, where's the good stuff?
I think Tom took it to Japan with him, actually.
I was about to say, the good stuff in the form of a little thing we like to call fact-checking and accurate reporting is not here this week.
No, we get none of that. I believe your role is to wildly speculate.
Yes, I'm pretty good at that. And what about you? What's your job?
I'm here to say things that are probably inaccurate, but feel good when I say them out loud.
Speculation and inaccuracy. It's the Cordkillers guarantee this week, as we're going to find out when we go on a supply run.
Supply run.
Information reported that its sources say that Apple has lost or loses $1 billion a year on Apple TV Plus, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of details on how or why. $1 billion a year in the negative. The service also supposedly has 42 million subscribers. Of course, Apple TV Plus is in the unique position, Amos, of not needing to tell nobody nothing about nothing. How many people we got watching? To the moon with you. That's what we say. Well, why are you losing money? Who even said we lost money? Yeah. So we've talked about this before, about that. Number one, it's important to put into context. First of all, let's assume it's 100% real. $1 billion a year is a lot of money to lose. And what it reminds me of is one of my favorite articles. It must have been from the early teens, maybe late aughts. But Jason Pargin, who wrote under the name David Wong, had a blog post where he introduced his new game console, which consisted of a cardboard box and a stick and a cat. And the game was to poke the cat with the stick, and he called it Cat Poke 9000 or something. And he was proud to announce that it was $1 billion more profitable than the Xbox. Which at the time was factually accurate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was $100 billion more. It was some ridiculous number. But similarly, so let's take everyone at face value. Let's take them at their word. Let's say they are losing $1 billion a year. It could be that this is a loss leader. It could be that this is essentially an advertising write-off. It could be that it's worth it to maneuver people who want to buy into the Apple ecosystem, to shower it with prestige and award-winning actors and all of that stuff. And more importantly, we see precedent all around it. I mean, how weird that a logistics and packaging corporation in the form of Amazon can burn hundreds of millions of dollars for the style library of Lord of the Rings and make some or save Jeff Bezos's favorite show, The Expanse, just because. I mean, obviously there has to be some kind of bottom line, but some of the speculation included, and this is reminder speculation, that there was a bunch of hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly talent out to award shows. And Tim Cook allegedly was like, I don't think so. Nope. And I don't know. What do you make of this, Amos? Like, does it bother you that Apple, a company worth trillions and trillions of dollars, is losing $1 billion per year?
First of all, reportedly, they only have 52 years worth of cash to burn on Apple TV Plus before they finally have to really think about it, because they've got 52 billion just sitting in cash, just waiting to be spent. Is that literally
the number? Is it 52 billion?
I believe so. That's
you know what? Take it from Amos. Well, welcome to speculation and wrong facts.
My thinking on this has always been that you have Netflix and you have Amazon, and they have huge content libraries that they can tap into. Apple does not. Apple's still building their library because they're not taking a bunch of licensed properties and adding them to their library or licensing their properties out to others. They're trying to keep a self-contained ecosystem. But in order to really say, hey, we have this, we're going to start actually trying to turn a profit, and we want to advertise with the shows we have, things like that. you have to have that base, and their base is almost entirely self-licensed content, things that they've developed themselves. So of course you're going to lose money while you're still building that up. They've been around for what, 5 years now, and they have a lot of content, but they don't have anything near what Disney Plus has or what Netflix has, but they own almost everything in their library. So
well, the specifically, man, Apple is in a very, very good position because they get to claim victory kind of no matter what happens. So when they started this play, again, they didn't explain why or what the goal was. They didn't say they're going to be a profitable studio. They didn't say they were going to be an award-winning studio. But as the story goes, it says here in the Ars Technical article, it says that in the year preceding Apple TV Plus's debut, Apple Services chief Eddie Q reportedly pushed back on executive requests to be stingier with content spending. Quote, a person directly or with knowledge of the matter told the information. But Cook started paying a closer attention to Apple TV Plus's spending after the 2022 Oscars, where the Apple TV Plus original Coda won Best Picture. So that award apparently signaled the significance of Apple TV Plus as a business. So in other words, they were in a super position where they could just throw money at an experiment. And this is my read from the outside. You could tell me if this rings true for you, Amos. They were able to pour money into an experiment and saying what the outcome was intended to be. Then it won Best Picture. Now they knew the shape of what they had. And because they knew the shape of what they had, they're like, okay, well, now we know it's a prestige kind of HBO-like content factory. Now that we know what that is, we know what the expenses should look like. We know what is needed, right. It's not needed. Because in the early days, when you're kind of establishing a foothold, it does make sense as a write-off to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to shuffle people around just to be present at award ceremonies. But at this point, as a studio, it's starting to breathe a life of its own, which means you have to engage in best practices and not just throw money down into a bucket. That's the way I read it. What about you?
That aspect of it kind of reminds me of the tale of the farmer and the cow.
I've never heard
the farmer
of the
cow. It's an Indiana thing. So you have a farmer that has a dairy farm, and every year he enters a cow into the state fair prize pool, right? The little contest they have on the best looking cow or whatever. And he does it as basically an advertising expense for his farm, for his dairy farm. And then one year his cow wins. So now it's no longer an expense for his business. It becomes its own business, as in trying to raise cows to win awards at the fair, because now that is something he found out he might be able to be good at.
Yeah.
So it changes that focus. And Apple did the same thing. They had these shows, one of them won an award. Now they're like, oh, maybe we can do that. So it kind of changes focus a little bit. Meanwhile, they're still building that huge library of content they've got going on, of these prestige, as you call them, shows. So I don't see it as them burning through $1 billion a year necessarily. I see it as kind of them still trying to build up what could be one of the leading factors of their services, which is have for years now been one of the main things of their income. So,
yeah. Tom left some notes in the doc, and he wrote down, Apple does not intend to make money on Apple TV Plus. It's meant to keep people in its services, where it makes money on iCloud and the App Store 100%. And it's designed, I mean, Apple has always been a fan of the walled garden, a very cozy ecosystem where there's a lot of anxieties about do's and do nots outside of it, but inside it's all warm and fuzzy. And this definitely tracks that. And it doesn't matter, again, talking about the scale, the couch cushion, $1 billion a year couch cushion money to them. You said they had 52 billion cash on hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Apple does tend to be normally frugal, and that bumps up against the Hollywood sensibilities of spending money outrageously, becomes part of the marketing. And you mentioned the extensive library of original content they have, which is just about to get a little bit bigger because Severance has been renewed for a 3rd season. Do you have any opinions on that?
I have thoughts on Severance.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. But good on them. Apple did announce that Severance has now surpassed Ted Lasso. Severance season 2 has become the most watched Apple TV Plus thing, surpassing Ted Lasso. Congratulations to Team Severance and their liminal spaces.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is thinking about $52 billion in cash. If you have $52 billion in cash, I know a place where you could divulge yourself of some of that and enhance everyone's life.
Yeah, you know what? It occurs to me that is a terrible burden that
Yeah.
Apple has sitting on all of that cash. And poor them, they had to invent Apple TV Plus just to get rid of $1 billion, and they're only able to get rid of $1 billion per year. Meanwhile, they could have gone to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Right? It's such a simple solution. You go to one website, you type in a couple numbers and a name, and you get the show ad free.
Yeah.
You get the extra stuff that we're going to be giving to only Patreons. And
well, yeah, you do. You get early access to the full experience. You get exclusive access to After Talk.
Yep.
And you get the smug satisfaction of keeping us live and independent.
Well, there's that. I mean, and isn't that worth $52 billion just lying around?
Yeah. You know what? Actually, you know what? You look nice. You look nice, kid. I like the way you clean up. Keep $1 billion for yourself. Keep $1 billion for yourself. Just give us $51 billion. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
It's a beautiful day when we can all share $52 billion right into our Patreon account.
51. We got to leave some.
I mean, 50 if you want to treat your mom nice over on Mother's Day coming up.
Okay, let's not go crazy, man. Come on, that's you're carving out of our 51 here.
All right. Well, how about how we move on to search parties? Find out what else we can find here.
That sounds good. The Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, Netflix Inc. held a press briefing to explain their ever-evolving video game strategy. And it turns out they got 4 core pillars. They're going to focus on 4 areas: narrative, mainstream, party, and kids. So I just accidentally triggered my camera just by ticking off those things. Now we get live motion. You guys should watch the video version over on YouTube.
Would this be an example of a narrative game?
Yeah. You know what? It's an ARG in which you go and watch the video just so you can see that I was telling the truth. So Amos, I was actually really thrilled that this story happened to come up because I feel like I encountered in the wild the actual reason that Netflix got into games. So I've been watching.
Please, Brian, we've been wondering this for a long time. Please tell us, why is Netflix delving into games?
Okay, well, I'm certain they talked about it in their long, highfalutin press briefing, but there are natural. I guess what I'm describing is a natural good fit for what they're doing with games, which is quite simply Netflix, especially in a binging experience, tends to be the kind of thing that a family will gather around to watch. So if you just want to watch Netflix, you'll just turn it on. Some random trailer will start screaming at you. And as fast as you can, you want to get out from the screaming trailer or dropping you into the middle of a scene in something and select one of the other shows. So tell me if this tracks for you as well, Amos, but like, do you have that moment where everyone agrees that you're going to watch a Netflix thing and then someone turns it on first and then there's like a waiting period before other people gather?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that is a universal, natural thing that happened. And in this case, I was sitting down, we were going to watch The Good Place, me and Calliope, and I got pulled aside on a business call or something. And suddenly I start hearing wacky sound effects from in the studio. And I go up and sure enough, during that little, like, what is she just going to wait patiently? Heck no. Right there are all these games. And so I go up and she's, throwing fruit at some kind of thing, like in some kind of Tetris knockoff.
Nice. That does seem like a place where that would fit in, especially if it was very seamless and you just had to click one thing away. And
Well,
let
and
it go.
it loaded very, very quickly. Everything, yeah, I am convinced that is part of the strategy. But in the case of narrative, that makes sense because, of course, they do narrative storytelling, and you're going to want to do narrative games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I got to tell you, it only took that one time, and then it suddenly became a ritual where whichever one of us got there first loaded up that dumb, stupid game. And so once something gets baked into a ritual, then you don't want it to go away, and it
Right.
becomes part of the reason that you continue to subscribe for it.
And before too long, now everybody's gathered, but the person's still playing the game, and now everybody's enjoying the game, and there is that community aspect of playing the game. But you're not even worried about watching the show anymore until the games reaches a natural pause or whatever, and then now you go on to the show. I love it. That sounds great.
Yeah, this is assuming I'm right, but of course you could confirm that as our expert fact checker, right?
Oh well, yes, I'm yes, everything that Brian said is exactly true,
I
according
love
to
it.
all the things that I've seen on the interwebs. Yeah.
In the underwebs, I'm gonna need you to walk around and just keep saying that. Netflix has set May 1st as a premiere date for The Four Seasons. It's a comedy series from Tina Fey based on the 1981 movie. Kate, Tina Fey, and Jack, Will Forte, and Nick, Steve Carell, and Anne, Carrie Kenny Silver, and Danny, Coleman Domingo, and Claude, Marco Calvani. Amos, are you familiar with the original movie?
I am not. No.
Yeah, me neither.
This is that's but I mean, with this kind of talent in it, though, I would expect something outrageous to come out of this and something very enjoyable.
It is confusing to. No, I guess it's not confusing. I mean, Netflix has been just teeing up top talent again and again, and it's just although the one confusing thing. This is the thought that was tickling in my head is how Netflix's incentives aren't necessarily to have that Apple TV Plus level prestige polish on there. They've already proven themselves, and their goal is just to create a happy clubhouse that keeps people on the hook for their subscription rate.
Yeah, and honestly, I like this. Anytime you have a known quantity such as Tina Fey producing something that they're in charge of, and then they start grabbing other talent, like Will Forte and Steve Carell, like that is more important to me than a good preview. I want to see that because I know the people that are running it, and I like the stuff they've done in the past. So I don't know. This sounds interesting to me, even though I don't know what the original movie is about.
So this is an interesting one. We had previously covered this story, and it's got very peculiar reasons for making sense. But Gareth West's distributor financier, Ketchup Entertainment, is negotiating an all rights acquisition in the $50 million range for the animated / live action shelved movie Coyote versus Acme. Ketchup last year rescued the same studios the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie. So for those of you guys who don't remember, there is a movie, Coyote versus Acme. It's a courtroom drama. It's allegedly quite good, quite complete, quite funny, quite excellent, but
quite
Warner
unreleased.
Brothers, and indeed, currently legally can never be released. So for tax reasons, sometimes you look at the slate of movies, and in the case of intellectual property, like physical property, you could buy an item intending to sell it, and then picture a board game, right? You expect to sell more of them, and you make a whole bunch of them, and then it's more expensive to store them than to just have them all shredded and destroyed. So you press a button and you have them all shredded and destroyed. Now, legally, in order to take the write-off, you have to actually shred and destroy them all.
Right.
Same thing with intellectual properties. At the end of tax year, you're looking at the slate of which movies you're going to, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on. And because, again, the bulk of the production budget is oftentimes the marketing. Like when they say what a movie costs, a lot of times most of that is the marketing. And you're like, yeah, we don't want to spend all this money on marketing. We can't fit it into the schedule. And we don't feel like this movie is going to, benefit from waiting 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Guys, I don't see where we're going to do it. Well, so we can either try to make pennies off of this property in a direct to video thing, or we can destroy it, just declare the project killed, take the write-off, and then that'll be a certain significant dollar of tax benefits. And the only hiccup to that is you have to actually, it has to be a legitimate thing. You cannot let it do anything. So they killed this movie, which is interesting to me because now if somebody's buying it, I don't know what that looks like. They already took the write down, the write off. This is where, boy, it'd be great if there was somebody from Japan who could just explain to me which of the things I'm thinking of. But they took the tax thingy, and now when it comes back, I assume that with enough legal and financial backflips, it becomes possible to do so.
Right, which is where I wonder if that's where this $50 million range comes from. If that's, that is basically just the financial, compensation for what it would take to resurrect that from the old tax records and make the ship right again.
So, well, then if we're reading tea leaves on this, so what that would imply to me is that the tax benefit for writing off this movie was less than $50 million, right? So
right.
They're like, well, we can release it and maybe it makes $50 million, but we definitely can have $50 million right now if we kill it. So then they kill it and then they take the tax benefit. And so now whatever number they end up settling on, they'll be all like, great. So now we'll have to undo that tax benefit. And now we made even more money on the distribution. So he's kind of doing a fire sale thing for a complete package, ready to go movie, and then gets to turn around and promote it and hopefully make cash. If any of you guys happen to know what Tom Merritt probably would say about this, hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not a tax lawyer when it comes to digital goods. This sounds nightmarish.
All right, let's play a little game called fill in the blank. Okay, don't look at the doc, Amos. Disney Plus has a 24/7 streaming channel for The Simpsons that broadcasts seasons 1 through blank. What number goes in the blank?
I mean, what season are they on now? Like 47 or something?
Wait, see, that was the real question that I was teeing you up for. But how many seasons do you think?
I don't know. I remember seeing a 25 box set a while ago. So maybe 30 or so. Like
35. Really they have a channel that is just playing Simpsons seasons 1 through 35, which, by the way, doesn't even include the currently airing one. But episodes average 22 minutes long. So that has the stream taking 12 days to refresh. Also, Disney's giving Disney Plus subscribers the ability to edit their continue watching lists. You can remove something for the continue watching in 2 different ways, either directly from the list itself or in the details page of a given show or movie. But that 35 seasons, Amos, reminds me a bit of, there was a radio station in Houston that briefly had figured out that the entire Beatles catalog plus the entire catalog of all the Beatles post being the Beatles would be enough that they could just have an entire radio station of nothing but Beatles and former Beatles music. And I think it was novel for a little bit and then stopped. And this feels an awful lot like that.
I mean, what it comes down to is, as much as I burned out on The Simpsons back in like season 7 or something, there are rabid fans for the show that have continued to have watched every single episode since. And if you can get them on a channel that's just going to keep playing it, I mean, I would watch this for random episodes of Friends or even like sequential episodes of Friends because I love that show. But it's only 10 seasons. It would only take about a week to refresh.
To be honest, I kind of love the idea as well because I wouldn't mind a trip down memory lane. However, I don't want the decision paralysis of deciding to open up the Simpsons library, then the decision paralysis of deciding which season, like would I on purpose watch one of the worst seasons? Now, meanwhile, that's where I'm most likely to encounter an episode I haven't seen before, or like with detached indifference, I can watch and figure out, oh, this is bad. How interesting. Why is this bad? Or why isn't this character doing blank, blank, or blank? I think this is great. I think that there is a place for kind of a waterfall feed of things like this.
I think the interesting part here is the choice to make it sequential.
Yes, I almost
as opposed to
prefer
random.
it was random or yeah. You know what? Actually, sequential almost makes sense because let's say, okay, so if it's 12 days, that means let's say on your weekly schedule, you have lazy Tuesday nights, let's say.
Right.
Then what that means
So
is
you'll catch season 3, and then next week you'll catch
exactly
season 32, and then the following week you catch season 12, and then the following week after that you're catching 25.
so it'll
or
be
something.
effectively random for any one night's viewing, but
Yeah.
it won't be so jarring to go from season 1 to season 17.
Right. Yeah.
When you're watching multiple in a row.
Yeah, if you got 2 hours to watch and you're watching, they're going to be sequentials. They're going to be kind of insane. Yeah, I guess that does make more sense that way. That is, either way, it's very interesting.
I'll tell you what, Disney Plus probably doesn't want to be in the community management business, but I rather like the only way that would be better is if there was a shared chat room or something similar to a live stream experience.
And also playing them in sequential order removes any perceived bias as far as which episodes you're showing more often or anything else. You're just showing them all, and you're showing them in order, so there's no favoritism amongst episodes or
you know what, and it also eliminates the algorithmic bias of like, we're not there with the secret goal of trapping you into, it being 3 a.m. and you can't stop watching. It's like, yep, it's going to be there. Yeah. If you miss this one, just wait 12 days. It'll be fine.
All right, Disney Plus, I've been convinced you took the right choice here.
Yeah, I think so too. I
mean, I'm not going to watch it because I'm not a big Simpsons fan, but for those that are, this is perfect.
I might, you know what? I'm a latent Simpsons fan. Maybe it's time to come back and see what I've been missing.
I'm that way with South Park. Like if South Park had a channel like this where they just played the 15 or whatever seasons of South Park, that'd be my way of viewing it. Yeah, that'd be great. But
Netflix has announced. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Netflix has announced that it's adding support for HDR10 Plus streaming on top of the existing HDR10 and Dolby Vision formats that are already offered on the streaming service. HDR10 Plus should offer even greater visual fidelity on a per-frame basis for Netflix's frequently dark original programming. I'm having a chuckle at the increased fidelity, but the truth is, yeah, man, when it's really interesting how form form function, how design affects art. But basically, when you go back to the film days, it used to be very difficult or impossible to shoot at night in the dark. And so you would have these weird purple kind of pastel, almost like Batman supervillain looking night shots in serious movies. And then all of a sudden technology advanced to the point where you could shoot in the dark, and boy, oh boy, did people want to, because they could. And so, and this actually, we'll end up talking about this in the context of Severance. A big chunk. Well, I guess we could talk about it now. For example, a lot of Severance is an homage to a lot of 1970s filmmaking things, whether it's the slow crossfades or the slow pans or the freezing of frames and going to red or whatever. All of that were things that were done in the 70s. Oh, and there's a couple of like very, very long zoom shots. If you've ever seen the Beastie Boys music video Sabotage, you've seen the kind of wide city shot to zooming in on one person. All of those were artifacts of 1970s movies because they could in the 1970s. The camera equipment was 20 years better than it was in the 1950s, and so on and so on and so on. And so likewise, because the programming is dark, now we're having the compensatory, why is everything so dark? I want the bright parts bright in my dark programming. And thus now the form changes again with HDR10 Plus. Well,
back in the day, you when you'd film at night, like you said, you'd have these different hues, but those hues were brought about by filters because they'd shoot during the bright daylight, and then they'd put a filter over the camera to where it minimized the amount of light coming in, so you could see the person's blue pants and they looked very dark, but at night you wouldn't have been able to see them at all. So give this false sense of visionality at night. And now we're at a point where no, the cameras can pick it up perfectly. And now we're trying to stream it on devices that can show it perfectly, but the transmission isn't quite there.
Yeah.
So this is Netflix trying to say, okay, well, here's another plus on that, so you can get a little bit more fidelity through the stream to the device that you have that can show it perfectly, that when it was recorded originally perfectly. Hopefully this works. I just wondered about bandwidth. Like we already have problems with bandwidth with Netflix live streaming and things like that. Like, is this going to be more compression or more compression needed, more data needed?
My guess is it's just a layer that will, it's a layer of fidelity that will be there if you can use it and not if you cannot. You'll still at the very worst you'll always be able to watch 360p over your AT&T Edge-like connection. But then it could just scale up to yet another level of incredible fidelity. Shall we talk about the buried treasure?
I think we shall.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
I must confess, I've done a lot of not watching things. It's been spring break. I've had kids around. And so the stuff that we have watched, we watched Severance like ripping off a Band-Aid, and we'll really talk more about it when we get to after talk in spoiler in time. But I am enjoying the fact that my 12-year-old is digging The Good Place, and so we're continuing to plow through that. It holds up to repeat viewing.
Is this Callie's first time watching The Good Place?
Yeah.
So
there's the metagame.
My first time watching it was last year when I was watching it with my then 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So now you're watching this year, having already watched it, but now watching it through fresh eyes with your 12-year-old daughter. It's such an amazing experience watching that show with a child around that age.
Well, like, because
the way they process and the way they think about things, and then, it's amazing.
Well, and it works at multiple levels. Like on the one hand, it's a thinly veiled morality play. It's almost like I mean this with all love, but it's like Christian rock, where it's like it's aping the structure of a comedy show, but really what it is philosophy 101. And I don't know. I dig it, and it stands up to repeat viewing. Partly because everything is just so twee and sweet.
Yeah, and the show itself, the dialogue and things like that are so crisp in that show. There's not a lot of mushiness. Everything, like when you're watching that show, it's like boom, boom, hitting the beats, right on the beats. Everything just flows really nicely, and then the production value is really high. Well, and I can imagine watching it again is a treat.
To be honest, if there wasn't the depth of thinking about the philosophical thought experiments, man, would that be a very elementary by the numbers surface level show that would not be worth your time.
Right. I am still watching This Is Us with the wife. We're still we're getting towards the end of second season, I think. And the show's just an absolute treat. Like every week it still makes me want to cry a little tear, and every week it makes me laugh. And I'm really enjoying watching it. I'm surprised it took me this long to find the show, but I'm glad my wife and I are watching it. It's pretty good.
Now, I know you have mentioned it, and I know both you and Tom are familiar with it. And every time you two talk about it, Brian does his Homer Simpson impression, and his brain thinks, you can stay, but I'm leaving. Remind me again of what This Is Us, like if you only get the 2 sentences.
This Is Us tracks the lives of a set of triplets who came into the world under not normal circumstances, and how their relationships are affected by how they were brought together, and how that affects the relationships around them is a beautiful dance of happiness and sadness and real life things that hit you right in the gut from your own personal experiences.
That was what a judicious use of your 2 sentences. That was fantastic. Hey man, so if you got something we should be on the lookout for, why don't you hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com. That's cordkillers@gmail.com. We'll get to the emails here in a second, but reminder, if you don't have a question this week, ask us an evergreen question because we had to dip into those for this week. But as you guys know, you know what? I get ads and Tom gets ads. Amos, I don't know if you can have an ad or we can discuss this shirt that I want to send you.
Well, Brian, let's. I'll take the ad. We'll take that at the very end. But
right.
I want to discuss this shirt because I see a sun, a multi-leveled like 70s style sun. With a park in front of it, with like a bus parked in front of a tree with some other different types of trees. Yeah, and then underneath that it says it has letters and it says what is it? Founders Day 84.
We got an awesome retro t-shirt design put together by Kyle Brown. We got Founders Day coming up here. We're doing the picnic in just a week and change, and I'm sorry that it costs $1 billion to get you down here, Amos.
Next year we'll have to do a Kickstarter to get me there.
Or we'll just have to. Maybe I could petition to have a rail line straight from your house to made to here. We'll see.
In all seriousness, it costs. It would take about $3,000 all told to get me down there and housed up for the weekend and flying back and things like that. It's not that's not a small venture for me to come down and push some buttons and.
You know what I heard? I heard 125 Founders Day shirts. That's all we got to move. If you guys head on over to scamstuff.com, that's gear for the modern rogue. Just type in the word founders, Founders, and you'll see the black ringer tee. It's a cream color, retro design, all done by hand. As we've talked about before, I'm big on anything handmade with genuine human wabi-sabi these days. And it's a gorgeous t-shirt available right now at scamstuff.com.
And I will just toss off that we just recorded a very special episode of my very first podcast I ever listened to. And Sunday will be the 20th anniversary of Buzz Out Loud.
What?
Those two may or may not be related, but you can find out by going to buzztownarchive.com and listening into the entire Buzz Out Loud archive to see if somewhere in those 1,500 plus episodes is one that might have been recorded just last week.
Interesting.
You will know the answer on Sunday.
Okay. Well, let's take a moment and let's scan the horizon.
Let's do that.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
This is co-CEO Ted Sarandos said he admired HBO Max, but didn't understand the whole Max rebranding. Quote, we would always watch what HBO was doing, and at one point they had HBO, HBO Go, HBO Now, and HBO Max. Sarandos said, when they're serious, all those names are going to go away, and it'll just be HBO. And, he also had thoughts about Amazon. He said, I don't know what their long-term plans are, he said when asked if the service would compete with Netflix. Sarandos said, does say Amazon's doing right in its live sports strategy, which includes Thursday night NFL football. However, in the same breath, he says, I don't know if that's their entire strategy. Man, it just sounds like somebody pressed record on a voice memo app when somebody was 2 whiskeys in.
It does. However, like especially when it comes to the HBO stuff, I don't disagree with them. Like this things we discussed when they were happening. Like you and Tom have been discussing this for years. Like what is this branding move? Why are they doing this? Like, you know, why the HBO why is it branded now as Max instead of HBO Anywhere? Like, well, I think he's just saying what we're all thinking.
I mean, yeah, but like longtime listeners know that my position has evolved multiple times, and at this point, I feel like Ted's take is very out of date. Brian takes very, very out of date. Brian takes. I think that they have attempted to negotiate a lot of spinning plates, and I think that Max is a very smart play because HBO was such a valuable 3 letters to have attached to your your intellectual property. Whereas there's a lot of, shall we say, fun content. Yeah. A lot of it's not perfect but content on
and allowing that to be Max specials instead of HBO maintains the prestige of the HBO brand. Yeah,
exactly. Then you get the peculiar cases of, like we talked about, hacks being, despite all the setup, being quite excellent, and kind of like, why isn't this an HBO official thing?
Yeah.
But at any rate, same thing. And as for Amazon, I don't know. It's very strange to me that he's just sitting back and just throwing little pot shots. Spicy Ted is what we got.
More power to him. Have another whiskey, Ted.
There you go. Plex is raising the price of its premium subscription for the first time in a decade. Monthly costs are going to increase from $4.99 a month to $6.99, with the annual rate going from $40 a month at $39.99 to $69.99. And the lifetime pass will go from $119.99 to $249.99 starting April 29th. Plex is also launching a $1.99 a month remote watch pass option. Amos, are you deep into the Plexiverse? This strange, it's definitely not piracy, I swear thing.
I converted all of my DVDs over to digital files a long time ago, bought a NAS and installed my Plex lifetime license on there, and have been using it since. My daughters are all the time going through and finding old movies from their catalog that they want to rewatch. My son used it for his entire film class that he took in his senior year of high school, who's constantly finding old movies that we had on there. I don't mind Plex raising the prices because they're providing a good service. I don't know if those prices are more appropriate because, again, I bought my lifetime pass several years ago. My question is this: the $1.99 per month remote watch pass option, is that in addition to the lifetime pass, or is that separate? That'll be interesting. I probably should have read on that one, but
yeah, I think that is a. Well, welcome to Speculation Corner with Brian. Stop me if you've heard this before. If only we had a fact checker. I would imagine that is an answer to the. Well, actually, I'm going to stop talking. Whatever it is you think I'm going to say, hit us up, cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's a separate thing. So, not sure what's going on there, but. Well, I guess we'll find out when it takes effect.
Boy, it's funny. It's funny to watch the Brian speculation engine rein itself in when there's no crossing guard around. Like all of a sudden, like I'm running around like crazy, but now that there's no crossing guard, I'm like, you know what, guys, there are cars around here. Maybe we shouldn't. Spinco doesn't have a name yet, but it does have a chairman. David Novak, co-founder of Yum Brands, the fast food giant behind KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. Plus, the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell is the chairman. Hey, this, of course, is the property that is definitely not just spitting off all the garbage, but from Comcast.
Yeah.
That, again, before you even decide how to market what you have to find out what you have, and it seems like they're still in that phase.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is David Novak. I mean, he at least he knows the difference between, like, he knows how to maintain brands individually, because even though you have, like, we have a combination A&W and KFC here, there's still separate entities within that same space. So that I think that might be a good thing for Spinco, because there are so many different brands within Spinco that are going to be kind of shuffled off, that he might be just the person to make sure they maintain their own individual identities while also working together towards something profitable somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to get sold off.
Yep. Let's take a pause. And now let's check the chatter. Smooth like.
You've got mail.
Who needs a crossing guard? My good. Ralph from Jersey writes us saying, I'm not sure if you've mentioned this show before, but I just finished watching the 4th season of the Amazon Prime adult animated series, The Legend of Vox Machina. If you haven't seen it, I'd be surprised. It seems something right up your alley in terms of anime style content. It's a Dungeons and Dragons inspired show about a band of not quite heroes who, despite their flaws, have just enough heart to get caught up in an ongoing quest to save their homeland. Thank you very much, Ralph from Jersey. I got to admit, I have not seen it, and I wonder if my kids have, because my kids are deep into anime territory. The
Same.
17-year-old and the 21-year-old.
This is
Machina. Sorry, Machina, not Machina.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Machinima. Sorry, my brain read the first part.
This is a tough sell for me, because as soon as you say anime style content, I'm dissuaded from it. But then you bring in the D&D aspect of it, and I'm brought back in. So this might be something I have to check out.
Like you liked Avatar: The Last Airbender, right?
Never watched it. I've tried watching it, and I just got bored with it.
Oh, okay. I'm getting famous. In the interest of keeping this, if there was a crossing guard, I would have tried to punch you in the nose and hope the crossing guard could have stopped me. But instead, we're going to go on to the next question, which is an evergreen question from Terry. By the way, send us your evergreen question. Make sure to put the word evergreen in the question so I can search for them later. This one reads, gentlemen, I'm curious what the last piece of technology you were genuinely excited about was. As with any addiction, we're always going through that. We're always going to chase that high, and it'll never be as good as the first time. Is it an app on your phone, a website, a smart home device? For me, nothing quite rivals the feeling I felt when I hooked up my first TiVo. Oh, Terry. Oh, is that shared? The Sony SVR 1000, the original Gen 1 TiVo. Oh, the only thing better was when I hacked it and increased it to 100 gigabytes. In addition to being tremendously helpful and smart, it had a little bit of personality. Though I cut the cord and no longer need a DVR, nothing since has quite the same whiz-bang factor. Thank you very much, Terry. Send your evergreen questions, cordkillers@gmail.com. Hey, Amos. When I read that, the moment the words came out of my mouth, I had a answer. Did something immediately pop to the surface?
It did. In fact, the box for it is right here. This is the Logitech G Pro steering wheel and steering base. And just underneath that are the pedals that go along with it. And they were kind of a last minute decision to buy it so I could play some Gran Turismo, and now I'm doing iRacing. And I got to tell you, every time I sit down at my little racing rig in the basement down here, it doesn't feel like a real car. It feels like a real car in my basement.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how recently did you get it?
I got it last year, but really hadn't really been using it much, because you have to put it in place and it blocks up the entire living room. We just did a shuffle of the house. We put the living room back up where the living room should be, and now the basement is basically an entertainment room, and I have a dedicated spot for my racing rig. So now it sits there, and I race almost every day, either on Gran Turismo 7 or on iRacing. And like the TV is mounted on the wall, and I can pull it down. It pulls down right in front of my racing rig, and then it's amazing. So that's my latest thing that I've been just really excited about. It's a lot of fun.
So
you, Brian, what's going on?
Man, it's been a minute since in this case, I ordered something kind of out of like, I guess I told myself I'd upgrade this thing, and I got it. I've been blown away, Amos. I don't know how much you've seen of me goofing around with this, but I'm going to switch cameras. Everybody can check out the YouTube if you want to see the video of this, but this right here looks almost like the same shot. And this is the OBS Bot Tiny 2 that I did. And it's got little robo gimbals and all that stuff. And it's 4K with a digital zoom. But this new OBS Bot Tail 2, which I told you was coming. Oh my God. This, my goodness. Look at this. Look at this. 5x optical zoom. Are you kidding me? Amos, are you seeing this? Every pore, every bit of my face.
You need to trim your ears down a little bit there, buddy.
I know, right? Look at this. And then better, it's got it streams straight over Wi-Fi or out of go back home. It streams over Wi-Fi or over cellular, and out of the box, like I'm building for patrons. Actually, I'm building a selfie stick that is basically, it has the chat room, and I'm able to wear a production mic and talk right to it. It sounds and looks fantastic. It's astonishing. That's the OBS Bot Tail 2, or watch this video or any of the content that I'm putting out on the live streams over at youtube.com/modernrogue. Just go to the live tab and you'll see it. I'm just giddy. I keep thinking of new things to try with it. I'm going to start doing man on the street interviews. Look at this. I bought a mic holder just to hold the wireless lapel mic on here. And so I can interview people on the street. I don't even know what I'm going to ask them, but I can.
It's going to be awesome.
Hit us up with your questions, cordkillers@gmail.com. Amos, hopefully, Tom's not going to be back next week, is he?
He's not.
Oh.
It's going to be you and me again.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if these handrails, because they're dented up this week, I don't know if they're going to be able to hold up next week.
Well, in the meantime, we're going to keep on with this week's programming. But, of course, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you guys next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.